You stop drinking, and for the first few days, you feel worse, anxious, wired, sleeping badly, and you think, wasn't this supposed to make me better? Here's the thing nobody tells you. That's not your body failing. That's your brain recalibrating, undoing months or years of adaptation in real time. And what happens over the next 90 days is genuinely remarkable. So let's walk the actual timeline, hour by hour, week by week, and see exactly what your brain does when the alcohol stops. First, you need one idea, and everything else makes sense. Your brain runs on a balance. On one side, GABA, the calming system, the brakes. On the other hand, glutamate, the excitatory system, the accelerator. Alcohol boosts the brakes and dampens the accelerator. That's the relaxed, loose, quiet mind feeling. But your brain hates being pushed off balance, so it adapts. It dials down its own calming system and dials up the excitatory one to counteract the alcohol. Drink regularly, and that becomes your new normal, which means when the alcohol suddenly stops, you're left with weak brakes and a jammed accelerator, a brain running too hot. That's the anxiety, the racing heart, the wired, restless nights. It's not weakness, it's chemistry catching up. Hours 6 to 12, the alcohol clears, the brakes are still weak, anxiety climbs, hands might feel shaky, sleep gets fractured, day 1 to 3. This is usually the peak. Restlessness, sweating, irritability, a heart that won't settle. Your brain is running at full throttle with almost no brakes, and it feels exactly like that. Now, an important, honest note. For most people, this is uncomfortable, but for someone who's been drinking heavily, daily, for a long time, stopping suddenly can be genuinely dangerous. That overexcited brain can, in some cases, tip into seizures or severe withdrawal. This isn't a scare tactic, it's just the part that gets left out. If that's you, please don't white-knuckle it alone. Talk to a doctor first. Withdrawal can be managed safely. And that's not a failure, that's just doing it properly. Get past this window, though, and the direction flips. By around day 4 to 7, the storm starts settling, and the first real win shows up where you'd least expect it: sleep. Here's what alcohol was doing. It knocks you out fast, so it feels like a sleep aid. But it suppresses REM, the stage your brain uses to process emotion and consolidate memory. And as it metabolizes out overnight, it causes a rebound, that classic 3 a.m. wake-up, heart going, mind spinning. So you were unconscious, you weren't rested. Week 1, REM starts coming back, sometimes with a vengeance. Vivid, chaotic, weirdly intense dreams. That's not a problem. That's your brain catching up on processing it hadn't been allowed to do. By the end of week 1, most people notice it. They're waking up actually rested. Sometimes for the first time in years, weeks 2 to 4 are strange because two things happen at once. The good, the fog lifts. Better sleep means better memory, faster recall, steadier attention. The brain inflammation that alcohol drives starts to come down. People describe it the same way over and over. Things just feel sharper. But here's the part nobody warns you about. Around this stage, a lot of people hit a dip, low mood, flat, weirdly unmotivated, nothing feels fun. And that's when the thought creeps in. I quit drinking and I feel worse. That's not a relapse of the old you. It's your reward system still finding its level, which brings us to month 1. Alcohol triggers a dopamine release. That's the pull, the pleasure, the one more. But your brain compensates for repeated artificial spikes by turning down its own sensitivity, which is why, over time, drinking gives you less pleasure, and everything else gives you less too. The book, the walk, the conversation. All of it goes a bit grey. That's the dip. Your baseline is low and the thing that used to spike it is gone. But this is exactly where the repair happens. Over weeks to a few months, that reward sensitivity gradually recovers, and ordinary things start landing again. Food tastes better. Music hits. A normal Tuesday feels fine. Nothing external changed. Your brain just stopped needing a spike to feel something. This is the part worth waiting for, and it's exactly the part people quit before reaching. Past the 3-month mark, the changes stop being just chemical and start being structural. Heavy drinking is associated with shrinkage in brain volume, particularly in areas tied to memory and decision-making. The genuinely hopeful part, a meaningful amount of that appears to be partly reversible with sustained abstinence. Brain volume can recover. Cognitive performance can improve, not instantly, not always completely. The longer and heavier the drinking, the more it varies. But the direction of travel is clear. Given time, the brain does a remarkable amount of rebuilding. You're not just avoiding damage anymore, you're recovering it. One honest caveat, though: your chemistry rebalances on its own, your life doesn't. Because alcohol was rarely just about alcohol. It was the wind down, the social crutch, the thing that muted the stress you didn't want to sit with. Take it out, and those things are still there, just louder and now unmuted. That's why the timeline matters, but it isn't the whole job. The brain repairs itself. The gap it leaves is yours to fill with sleep, movement, people, and something to actually do at 9 p.m. Handle the gap, and the timeline does the rest. So, the whole map, first 72 hours, the brain runs hot with weak breaks, uncomfortable, and for heavy drinkers, a medical conversation, not a solo test of willpower. Week 1. REM comes back. Real sleep returns. Weeks 2 to 4, the fog lifts, but expect a flat patch. That's the reward system re-leveling. Months 1 to 3, dopamine sensitivity recovers. Ordinary things start feeling good again. Month 3 and beyond, structural repair. Volume and cognition improve. The hardest part isn't the first 3 days, it's the grey middle, where the reward hasn't arrived yet, and nothing feels like it's working. That's not it failing, that's the part right before it works. If you've made it into that stretch, you're not doing it wrong, you're doing the hard bit. Save this for the day it feels pointless. And if you've been through this, what stage surprised you most?